Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week. And when you watch them, and you should, halfway through we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. We spun it off. We're at 141. If you want to get a question in, how do you do it?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning I put a post out on Instagram asking for questions. Once we gather them, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Happy holidays. I currently drive a 2014 Mazda 3 and I'm looking to upgrade to something bigger that is sporty with similar steering, better performance, and modern tech. I'm considering a crossover SUV so I have cargo space for outdoor activities, cycling, snowboarding, golf, and my price range is around $40,000. My research has led me to the BMW X3 M40i and the Mazda CX-50 Turbo. But are there any other new used options in the range that you would suggest? Are there any sedans worth considering given this criteria?
Well, what I would say sporty. Is you're obviously in the US of A. if you can buy an X3 M40i for 40 grand, yeah. It'd be used anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You're sort of right in the meat of the market. There's lots to choose from if you're looking for a vehicle that has that kind of criteria. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you want something a little more powerful. Mm-hmm. So I would...
Maybe heavier steering as well.
Yeah, a little sportier kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. I mean, the X3 is great.
How about...
Mm-hmm. Are you going to say an Alfa Romeo?
Stelvio or the Giulia? See, I would go for the Giulia.
The thing about the Alfa Romeo is, if you buy it in the used market, you better get an amazing deal and depreciate it like crazy. They don't hold their value. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, when you buy a car that's heavily depreciated, Andrea, it doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. That glide path never ends. So I know this because we bought a 7 Series. We had a 7 Series, and it was depreciating $1,000 a month.
Yep. And
we got rid of that.
Frightening. What about, we've got a Volkswagen GTI. It's fun.
I was going to
say, good price point.
A Golf R. A Golf R is going to be perfect. It's got over 300 horsepower. It's all-wheel drive. It's got the dual clutch, which makes it fun and sporty. You can use it for outdoor activities, put a roof rack on it, and you'd look cool as hell driving that. That's what I would think.
And the CX-50 is great, but you're going to find the X3 to be much more comfortable with the seats. The CX-50 doesn't have the most comfortable seats, and I don't know what your legs are like, but they're also short, so you might find the thigh support not great. But it certainly is a fun one to drive.
Yeah, it is. On paper, you go, okay, 2.5 liter turbo. It's got to be a real sort of, but it isn't. You think it's going to be this powerhouse. It's just the way they deliver that power. It's more torquey. It actually reminds me a lot of a diesel. The way it delivers the power. I go back to the Golf R. Get a Golf R. You will not be disappointed. And they hold their value well, so that wouldn't be a bad one.
And if you don't need all-wheel drive, I really like our GTI. I have a lot of fun with it. When you get it on the highway, there's this comfort level as well. But you're never going to feel a lack of power with the GTI. It's terrific. Who is the, and now time for Questions, Coffee, and Cars voiceover guy? I swear it sounds like the same guy from the Motoring 98, showing my age here. Love the show.
No, totally different guy. The guy that did the Motoring, but if you're not aware, in the U.S., there's a show across Canada that just ended a couple of years ago called Motoring TV, and Andrea and Zach were on the final series, final year. Totally different voiceover guy.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
David K is a long time friend of ours.
Yeah.
I used to live in David K's basement in London, Ontario, when we were starting out in radio. I lived in his basement. Maria and Dave lived upstairs. They moved here to Vancouver.
Yep.
And then they moved to LA.
That's right. And he's a big voiceover guy.
Of course. A cataclysmic clash of timelines across the multiverse, right? No Megatron. A truce. What? A truce? Say it isn't so. Joe. Yeah, a Christmas truce.
He's done very well for himself. And so when Zach and I started doing this together and we came up with Questions, Coffee, and Cars, we thought to ourselves, who could we get to voice it? So we asked David, and he's like, of course.
Yeah.
And then for your consideration...
I just want to jump in before you go into that. So David K is... He did a lot of animation stuff. He did Megatron and all that. He's done loads of those sorts of things. Movie trailers, TV commercials. Oh, okay. For people in Canada, people in Canada will know this.
Yeah.
At the Brick. The Brick is a big furniture store in Canada, so he does all the voices, all the commercials for the Brick.
And if you ever listen to LG 73 in Vancouver, he did middays, and he was known as David K. He always had a great voice, strong voice. And so for your consideration, we asked our other friend, Conrad,
Jim Conrad.
if he would voice it for us. And he said, I certainly will. He's another great guy.
Yeah, so Jim Conrad is a legendary voiceover guy here in Vancouver. He's kind of like the granddaddy of it all. David K is now getting to granddaddy status.
Yeah.
There you go.
So knowing that Andrea loves Mazda, would you pick the Mazda CX-5 or the Chevrolet Equinox as a daily driver? So for me, yes, you know I'm a Mazda fan because I love the driving dynamics. They're so engaging. The CX-5 isn't the biggest in this class. You're going to find a lack of rear seat legroom and cargo space. For me personally, our kids rarely come with us anymore in the rear seat. So between the two, yes, I would pick the CX-5.
Okay, I'm going to do a little pros and cons for each one. The pros for the CX-5 is the fact that it's been in production for a long time now. So the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, I wouldn't get the turbo. I don't think it's worth the extra power, worth the extra price for the power, and the fuel economy really suffers. So the 2.5 liter with the 6-speed automatic transmission, they've been making this for a long time, so that's good news if you want to buy and hold for the long term.
Yeah.
Downside, it's not that big in the back seat, as Andrea mentioned. So on the plus side, the downside is the steering is quite heavy and the suspension be kind of firm. If that's not your jam, the easygoing Equinox is definitely going to be much more comfortable every day. I think they did a beautiful job with the interior. It's got a 1.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder, but it is not proven in the marketplace. It's basically just come out this year. So it depends on if you're just going to lease a car for, say, 3 years, you might want to try the Chevrolet.
I would need the CX-5, 100%. I like everything about it. I like the interior. I think the seats are quite comfortable, which are different than the CX-50. They need to get the CX-5 seats in the CX-50, but it's just fun. I get in it and I'm driving around the city and I just can't believe what a great time I have with it every time. Why do you think Audi and VW reliability ratings have tanked? I bought a 2018 Audi brand new, and back then they were in the top 10 above average for reliability. What changed?
Well, think about what's changed in the last few years. What has changed in the auto industry in the last few years? All of these brands are forced to bring out electric vehicles, and it wasn't done perfectly. And a lot of it came down to software, integration with the hard. So I watched this great I've talked about this many times. CNBC, that's the business channel in the States. CNBC does these great sort of little mini documentaries on the car industry. And one was about EVs, and this one guy explained it. This is the way he explained it, Andrea, and I think it's a great explanation. He said, a regular internal combustion engine car, that's a regular gas car, has a lot of mechanical parts.
Yes.
That make it complicated.
Yeah.
And they've figured that out for the most part. They can make these kind of cars very reliable. With an electric car, all those mechanical things are gone. There's as many issues and complication, they're just very different. And it comes down to managing the battery, managing the electronics, and having it all work together. That's the part that Volkswagen struggled with.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Volkswagen Group piled $5 billion into Rivian so they could get access to their software.
Yep. I also think it's more than that. It's not just EVs.
But that hurt them a lot.
Of course. Especially in a short period of time, the EVs would hurt them and you would see that decline on the reliability charts. But they have problems with their gas models and it's really hit and miss. And when we were at the drive event recently for the Taos, I said, straight up, we were in a meeting with the PR team and head of product planning, and I said, listen, you make good products. They are fun to drive. They feel solid, but reliability is such a huge issue. What are you going to do to improve on that? And they said it's our number one priority.
Yeah, but I said Ford had quality is job one. They had that slogan for many years. The problem is, Andrea, even if even if Volkswagen and Audi made the most reliable cars next year,
yep.
no one would believe it for years.
For years.
Because we go through this, we drive new products, and the quality scores are actually very favorable for the brand, and people just don't believe it. They say, oh, it's all bought and paid for. The one thing I'll say on the Audi side, I think it is the EVs, because you think about the cars that they sell the most of, which are the Q5 and the Q3 and the Q7. They're ancient. They have been making the same product for many, many, many years. So I don't think it's those cars as much as it is the EVs.
Maybe so, but I hear from viewers who've purchased an Audi and they're like, you know, why is this happening, or why is that happening with my vehicle? And that's what I find. It's the same with Volkswagen. It seems to be hit and miss. Some people own a Tiguan and they love it and it's amazing. And then others say, I own a Tiguan and it's been in the shop so much. So I don't know what to say. When people ask, I want to buy an Audi Q5, what do you think of it? Or a Q3 or something from Volkswagen. I always say they're great vehicles. Audis are really excellent all-rounders. They do a lot well. But you have to know going in, if you have a problem, you know, I'm telling you, you may not.
So always, my advice for many years with Volkswagens was always have it under warranty. And that's something that you can buy a car, you can lease it. The good thing is it comes with a 4-year warranty already. That's a year more than most mainline cars. You can buy an extra warranty for a couple or 3 years, and you could have the car for most of the ownership under warranty, which wouldn't be a bad way to go. But it's just one of those things where the interesting thing about Volkswagen Group is that they have a brand in the Volkswagen Group which is one of the highest in terms of quality, and that's Porsche. So they know how to do it, and they just haven't trickled that into the other divisions. One of the problems with Volkswagen Group is they run them all separately. They're all separate. And so you would think there's all this sharing. There is some parts that are shared, but the way the businesses are run are all separate.
And every Porsche we've owned has been reliable. Every Porsche.
Did you just jinx it?
No, I didn't.
Touch wood.
Love the show. Is there a mainline SUV or car that meets both of your preferences?
I just on the Porsche thing, because you just remembered. A couple of questions, Coffee and Cars ago, we talked about batteries failing on certain hybrids. And I said, oh, this car has a huge ass battery, like a massive battery. And I said, I hope I didn't jinx it.
And he did.
And I jinxed it. My old Cayenne GTS, I even said, and I'm going to play this clip right now.
Yeah.
For example, I don't want to jinx it, Andrea. This car is 8 years old and still has the original battery.
I know.
The other Cayenne we have is like 15 years old, and I think it's still got the original battery. Okay? I said, mine is an '08 GTS, and I think it still has the original battery. Well, guess what? It crapped the bed on me. I guess how much the battery was. I don't think I want to tell you.
Yeah, you didn't tell me.
Guess how much the battery is. It's a big-ass battery. It's the biggest battery they had there.
Okay. I don't know, $200?
Double that, Andrea.
It's a Porsche. I mean, that doesn't really surprise me that much. I mean, it's not a Civic. When Charlie's battery went in the Civic, how much was that?
It was $250. But the thing is that if you think about it, if that lasts another 15 years,
They've got to ship the battery in from Germany along with the oil that they use.
And a guy in a white tuxedo. And they pick it up at the airport in a limousine.
That's how it goes with Porsche. Yeah. So you have to expect that you get a bit of an
upcharge. So anyway, I hope we didn't jinx it. I'm just saying. The only reason I interrupted you, Andrea, is because I don't think you didn't jinx it.
No, this one's been good. She's our baby.
All right,
She's our baby.
Keep moving there.
Or he is, because it's really Dr. Pepper.
His name is, his full name is Herr Professor Dr. Pepper.
You know, we always pick male names for cars, and we always get a male dog. And I've always wanted a female dog, and all of them are always taken when we get a puppy. So I go, oh, no problem, I'll just take a male. We have 2 boys. And then we get Ruby, the MX-5, and she's a girl.
Ruby could be a boy.
No. It's a girl.
Oh, Rudy.
Rudy. Love the show. Is there one mainline SUV or car that meets both of your preferences that is fun to drive for Drea and good value for Zach? Just wondering if there's a Goldilocks choice that you both agree on.
Well, we kind of went around that a minute ago with the Andrea likes the Mazda. But if I was going to go for a mainline, I still think the best vehicle on the road is what, Andrea? The RAV4 hybrid. I mean, it isn't the most exciting to drive, but it's thrifty, and it's just bulletproof and has great resale value. It's just a good common sense purchase. That's the common sense purchase, Andrea.
I don't want to have a common sense purchase, though. I want to have a good purchase that's reliable, but also fun.
What are you getting? Model Y?
No. You know what I'm going to get? This is what I'm getting. I'm going to get the Civic hatchback. And then I would even consider something like a GR Corolla.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
I would say Civic Hybrid. That tickles the sensible, thrifty side, and not to purchase, but to run.
To run.
But yeah, you know what? The answer is always GTI. Move on. GTI, that's it. And by the way, keep it under warranty.
Why? Yeah. Why spare tires are no longer provided on new vehicles?
Wait.
Weight and also costs. I mean, if they don't add a spare tire, they can take it down. Like, look at Nissan, for example, with the new Kicks. And what was the other one? The Murano. You have to add a spare tire if you want it.
Yeah, but the good news is there's room for it and you can get it. And it depends on where you live. Like if you live in the middle of the city and you're driving, you know, a few miles or kilometers to work or to take kids to school and soccer practice and stuff like that, you might not need the spare tire. But if you live in a rural area where you're driving down country roads and it's dark at night and I want a spare tire. So at least you can make that decision for yourself and pay the difference if you want to get it. But it all comes down to weight, and it all comes down to if they can save, like I don't know if you've ever picked up a spare tire and wheel. They're not light. They're going to be 30 plus pounds, right? If you can shed that weight out of a car, that affects fuel economy.
I was just going to say that without having a spare tire, the Kicks EPA numbers are based on that vehicle not having a spare tire, and same with the Murano. So it makes sense why they leave it out, I suppose, and then you can add it at an extra cost. Aloha from Hawaii. Gosh, I'd love to go to Hawaii right now.
We can go, Andrea. We just have to book it. There's flights leaving every day.
Oh gosh, I love Hawaii. You guys are the greatest. Thank you. Recently, a local Honda dealer told me that they have difficulty selling used vehicles with over 100,000 miles since banks won't finance high mileage vehicles. My 2016 Civic Touring just hit that mark. Thankfully, it's been relatively bulletproof. Would the dealer comment, should I keep it as long as possible or look to maybe getting the new Acura ADX? Have you heard anything similar? I haven't heard that. Have you?
Well, I'm not in the finance business. I would suspect that, yeah, it might be tougher to sell that because you got to remember one thing, that people are shopping for higher mileage cars. I don't think 100,000 miles on a Honda Civic is high mileage, by the way, if you look after it and maintain it. Plus, you're living in paradise, so it's not going to rust. Is that it should run indefinitely, but I can see why people who are shopping for a higher mileage used car maybe are not as credit worthy, because if they had good credit, they might want something newer. So you get a car that's got 100,000 miles on it. They might not be the best candidates for credit, and therefore it's harder to get. So it might be a death spiral. But I would just say keep a Honda Civic. If you look after it, it should run indefinitely.
Or what you could do, if you really are interested in the ADX, is you could see how much you would get for the Civic, maybe what the trade-in offer is, and if it works for you, then go for the newer ADX. If it doesn't, keep the Civic. You've got a great vehicle.
I'm an always in addition to.
Oh my goodness.
I don't like to get rid of cars. I like to get another car. So you could just keep the Civic and then also get an ADX. But I understand what you're saying. I would work with the dealer, because the dealer will be able to get rid of the car. They could also ship it off the island to the mainland, and I'm sure there's a market for that car in the mainland. But I think that it's just a credit worthiness thing.
And they might want a used vehicle too, because used vehicles are harder to get these days. So you never know. Talk to the dealership, especially if you've got a great relationship. Okay, one more, Zach.
One more, Andrew.
Happy holidays, you two lovebirds.
It's love all the time.
Overall, what one vehicle have each of you been impressed with in 2024? 3, 2, 1.
Honda Civic
Hybrid.
By the way, Christmas Day, so that's 2 days ago, we did our top 10 of the year and our Motor Mouth Car of the Year, and the Motor Mouth Car of the Year was the Honda Civic Hybrid. And the hatchback video, the full-length review of the Honda Civic hatchback. If you're watching this, the day this video drops is coming out tomorrow morning. So we were absolutely, it wasn't even close. And I even said to Andrew after we did our top 10, I said it wasn't a strong year for new cars this year.
No.
We actually, it wasn't hard to get our top 10, put it that way. We just said, well, that one's good, that one's no good, that one's no good. Not that they're not good, they're just not good enough to make our list.
Yeah.
And the Civic Hybrid was hands down the easy choice as our car of the year.
For sure. But, I mean, just fantastic. Smooth, great acceleration, awesome fuel economy, fun to drive, does everything so well.
Except for
What's that?
the price.
Yeah.
It ain't cheap, but if you're gonna, like this last person, keep it for 100,000 miles, enjoy it.
The shocking thing is you can get a Camry all-wheel drive SE model for around the same price as that top trim Civic. And, you know, then you start thinking, I'm getting into the mid-size. I got to say, Toyota priced that Camry really well. They went very aggressive with that one.
Well, Toyota wants to basically decimate the competition in the mid-size space. So it's a shrinking category, mid-size sedans, we know that. But basically you have Camry, Acura, than everybody else.
Yeah.
And the everybody else is a shrinking category. Like a lot of brands are going to get out of that. But I think Toyota is basically putting their foot down to the floor on that hybrid and basically just going to clobber everybody. I just don't see why anybody would buy in the mid-size space anything but a Camry hybrid.
And it actually is kind of fun to drive if you get the model with the models with the Sport Tune suspension. Anyway, I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and you're enjoying your holiday season.
It's still Hanukkah, by the way.
It is
Hanukkah started
Hanukkah.
on Christmas Day. So there you go. Hopefully you'll get the menorah lit up tonight.
And we just want to say thank you so much for all of your support this last year. It's been super fun, and we look forward to 2025 with more reviews, more first drives, more first looks.
You know what?
It's going to be a great year.
Our dance card into next year is already filling up. We have
Crazy.
trips already booked for January, trips already booked for February. We have a tentative hold for, was it April or May or something like that? Anyway, we're going to be very busy again, which means exciting new products. And by the way, the first one up in the new year is the Toyota 4Runner.
Exciting.
So a lot of people are looking forward to the 4Runner.
Yeah, can't wait for that one. If you want to get a question in, follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning, I put a post out on Instagram asking for questions. Once we gather them, the post is deleted and we start the show. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.